You're here because you're on your way to check out a rental property right now, or you're thinking about it, and you want to figure out what the biggest mistakes are that you should avoid making when looking at this new rental property and figuring out if it's the right one for you. We all hope that sellers are good people and want the best for us, but anybody seasoned in the business or not that has done any negotiating whatsoever knows that most people just care about their end, they don't care about yours, and you've got to look at every single little detail in order to make sure you don't make detrimental mistakes that'll crush your cash flow and potentially run you dry on a rental property. That's what I'm here for today, to make sure that you don't make these mistakes when analyzing rental properties or any purchase in general. We're going to run through houses right now. This also goes for apartment complexes and commercial properties, but specifically houses. Let's get right into it. We're in Houston right now, walking our new 56 unit crazy property here. It starts down there.
We got a lot of billion-dollar man.
The first thing I ask when checking out a property is if the property is vacant or occupied. If it's occupied, I dive in and ask 1,000 questions, starting with how much do the tenants pay? Are they on leases? How big is their unit? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? How long have they been at the property? And so on. These questions are super important, because it'll tell you all the details you need to know on the headache you're about to get yourself into. No matter what you do, you're buying a headache if there's tenants in the properties, but usually it means there's the most upside, whether it's a flip or a rental, because somebody wants to offload that headache onto you, and you might be way more equipped to handle it than they are. Who knows? A new buyer, fresh blood comes into the picture, someone might just run away and not want to deal with you. Other times, tenants just want to butt heads and fight with you, and that's something that you're going to have to figure out before you actually buy the property and make sure that it makes sense for you getting into it. Now, I don't know what state you're in, but in New York, this is really difficult to deal with. In Texas, I know it is much easier because the landlord laws are awesome, and during COVID, people like me ate shit with a lot of our tenants because our tenants decided not to leave. I bought a property right before COVID hit. One of the tenants stayed there for 18 months before I managed to get them out. It was like going through hell and back. At the end of the day, I bought the property right, and it was a major home run, but definitely hit me out of nowhere, and thankfully I was able to weather the storm while they weren't paying and causing me problems. The next biggie is meters. You want to make sure that the house is sub-metered. If it's mixed use, multifamily, two-family, or has multiple different tenancies in any which way. If it's not sub-metered, then you have to look at those utility bills and make sure they're true and honest. Usually, the seller will just verbally tell it to you, but you want to see the bills, because most of the time, either they're lying or they're just not accurate and underplaying it in order to make the numbers look much better. Sub-metering utilities gets very expensive very fast, and that's something that you want to have figured out before you go into contract on a deal or during due diligence. Third, might surprise you guys, but is plumbing. In New York, plumbing is wildly expensive because you need to be licensed in your individual municipality, town, village, whatever it is, and that gets costly really fast if you have to file permits. Because of that, I care about the plumbing issues within a house, make sure I can have everything in order, or I don't have to submit permits if it's just not going to make sense when buying the property. If it does make sense, awesome. If it doesn't, then I'd rather not even get myself into that headache in the first place. There's many other deals out there in the market. In a house, you want to make sure there's no leaks, you want to make sure there's running water, you want to make sure that the fixtures are all in good working order, and if not, just budget what that's going to cost to replace. If the number still makes sense, fantastic. If not, I suggest you double check everything you're doing, rerun your numbers, and don't run into a headache with plumbing issues, because in my opinion, plumbing is more of a headache to deal with than roofing, sheetrock, and flooring any day of the week. Next is cracks in the foundation. This one typically scares people more than anything else, But don't be so scared. It's not that big of a deal to fix cracks in the foundation, and it doesn't mean that your entire property is going to collapse. Get a home inspector, get a report. It's going to cost you a couple $100, but it's totally worth it to figure out how bad the deal actually is, or if it's just a little fix that needs to be touched up. What's most annoying about cracks, both in the foundation and anywhere throughout the house, is that it can leak, it can cause mold, and this is stuff that needs to be remediated immediately and is just annoying to deal with and can get costly. Now, typically, this doesn't ruin a deal, but it scares people more than anything. So just have your ducks in a line and make sure that you're getting your property properly inspected, so you don't run into major issues and you don't have to back out of a deal if it's something minor. Windows. Windows are so expensive in today's material environment. Like, this has gone crazy since COVID started, and it seems to be only getting worse. It's like, great, super low prices, super expensive, and now it's just climbing up and up and up. Supply chain is messed up across the world, and because of that, prices are going through the roof. I have no idea if manufacturers are making a killing on top of all of this, but all I know is that window prices and prices for all materials are going insane right now, and it's totally changing the market. I have no idea what it's going to lead to, but it's getting more expensive, and I have to keep increasing my budgets as I'm buying more properties and renovating. So definitely check into your windows, because this is an expense that can be easily missed and overlooked by new investors. Going to look at properties can definitely be overwhelming considering all the moving pieces, but I hope this video helped you out a little bit. I didn't go over flooring, I didn't go over electric. Those things could also be expensive, but I don't want to discourage you from doing deals. All this stuff can be fixed and repaired and figured out, and most of the time you don't even have to do it. So keep that in mind when checking out a property, but don't overlook things that will eventually have to be remodeled, refinished, or just touched up in general. I hope this video helped you guys. If it did, share it with a friend and definitely subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to grow this page. I'm really happy to be posting regular content all the time. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, peace.